My name is Theastarr, aka Empress T of Empress Royal Publishing, and tonight we have a special guest with us. Getting ready for her debut book is Eulinda Antonette Clarke-Akalanne. So I'm going to give her some time to introduce herself to you.
Hi, everyone. It's lovely being here. My name is Eulinda Antonette Clarke-Akalanne, but I'm fondly called Antoinette. I came from Barbados originally. I came to England to study nursing at the age of 18. And I've spent most of my life here in England. I have traveled out to Nigeria and spent some time in Nigeria with my late husband, and then he died. So I returned to England, where I'm staying now with my family. I started writing poems from when I was about 7 years old. I was influenced by my mother, who was a poet, a singer, a choral singer that is, and she was a proverb guru. Everything she said, there was a proverb in it. So I learned a lot from her. As well as I did a lot of reading because at the time my sister was favored over me. So I spent a lot of time reading my little nursery rhymes and so on. So apart from my mother's influence, I also gained influence from various books that I read. So I've been writing poetry now since 7. My poems are basically based on my experiences, historical and contemporary happenings, as well as nature, things that happen in nature. And I am inspired by sudden issues, traumatic experience, or awed by wonderful happenings. So most of my poems are also intergenerational. They're poems there that I've written when I was a little girl, 9 years old. I've got several of those poems which will be published in my book. And of course, later poems, as well as political poems as well. That's me.
Thank you very much. So we're going to start. Do you come from a literary background?
No. My mother wrote poems, but I wouldn't say she never published anything. No, I haven't come from a literary background at all. Yes.
So how did you get started as a poet?
Basically, my mother used to recite lots of poems to us, rhymes, nursery rhymes when we were little, and then various other poems, which were poignant. Like, for instance, one she recited to me and my sister about telling lies. Matilda told such dreadful lies, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I used to know that poem off by heart. So there were poems to teach us things. And of course, I developed that skill as well, because if you see my poems, they're basically things that have happened, not only to me, but to other people and so on.
Do you find writing to be easy? Do you find writing easy?
I will say when I'm inspired, I could write. I could go ahead and I could write reams. Like a poem I wrote about the last president. I just put pen to paper and I did it. Of course, like anything else, you got to go over it and correct and edit it, etc., etc. But I have to get that bit down first. So I just freehand, I write. And then I'll go over it and then, you know, make little alterations, put in things that I'd forgotten, etc., etc. So I find when I'm interested in a subject, it is really, really very easy for me. If I have no interest and somebody just say, oh, write a poem about that stick, you know, it might be a bit difficult. But if I'm inspired, it is so easy.
How long does it take you to write a poem? How long does the process take usually?
Well, my last poem actually, that is called Loss, is about my sister. And that took me, the first part, it actually just took me several hours because it's based on a true life happening. But when I was shocked, when I discovered that she had died, you know, I had to alter the poem and then put what happened then. So that actually took the poem out a few more days. But the original poem was finished in you know, a very short time. But then having to add that bit on and so on made it a little bit longer.
So a person who's never in a poem before, usually poems are short. Why would it take hours to write a poem, even when it's short?
Well, because if when I write little poems, like for instance, I do haikus as well, which are 5 lines, 7 lines, 5 lines, that type of poems. You know, three lines. First is 5, and the last is 5. The middle one is 7. 7 syllables. That is, sorry. And you might write something, and then you realize, oh, I need to change that. You know, I need to change it so it would rhyme. I need to change it so it would have some rhythm. I need to change it so it might make sense. Yeah. There's no point in having rhyme and rhythm without having any sense, you know? So that is why things take a little bit longer.
Okay, so for those who may ask that question, here's your answer. How do you manage to fit writing into your schedule? Are you good at managing your time?
Yes. I think my nurse training and midwifery training has assisted me in managing my time, because you have to manage time when you're actually looking after people's health and welfare, and of course delivering babies and so on. You have to manage your time, you know, because people's lives are at risk, people's well-being are at risk. So I think that has channeled me into punctuality, managing my time. And I've got a diary. I always get a new diary every year, and I put everything down in my diary, and I follow the schedule. Of course, sometimes you have mishaps, like somebody might turn up, or you might have a telephone call, but usually I follow. If you look here, this is today's diary. All that is today's work. So I get up in the morning, and I write the list in my diary, what I need to do, and then I follow that list. And if I have any particular interruptions or having to do something else, any distraction, I also put that there. It's also a very good record as well. It doesn't only just guide me, but it's a record that I can look back on later on and say, when did I send that email? When did I do so and so? So it's a wonderful record. I would recommend it to anyone.
Okay, so have a schedule. Okay. Who is your favorite poet, and do you have a favorite poem?
Yes, well, I've got two actually. I can still remember a very long poem by Robert Southey. I mean, he died in 18 whatever, and I was impressed with his poem. It's about a wicked bishop called Bishop Hatto. I don't know if you want me to recite the poem now, if you got time, but I learned that when I was 11. And it tells a story about this wicked bishop and how retributive justice got him in the end. I'm also inspired by Maya Angelou at I Rise, because that again tells something, and that is exhilarating, and it just shows that, you know, despite hardships and whatever in life, you can rise above those and do things.
Okay, so I will definitely give you a moment. You can definitely recite some of the poem or any poem that you choose. I would love to hear.
Okay. Yeah, this one is called Bishop Hatto. The summer and autumn had been so wet that in the winter the corn was growing yet. 'Twas a piteous sight to see all around the corn lie rotting on the ground. Every day the starving poor, they crowded around Bishop Hatto's door, for he had a plenteous last year's store, and all the neighborhood could tell that his granaries were furnished well. At last Bishop Hatto appointed a day to quiet the poor without delay. He bade them to his great barn repair, that they should have food for winter there. Rejoice, such tidings glad to hear, the poor folk flocked from far and near. The great barn was full as it could hold of women and children and young and old. And when he saw it could hold no more, he made fast that door. And whilst for mercy on Christ they call, he set fire to the barn and burnt them all. I go, 'tis an excellent bonfire, said he, and the country is very obliged to me for ridding it in these times forlorn of rats that only consume the corn. That night, he slept like an innocent man, but Bishop Hatton never slept again. In the morning, as he entered his great hall, where his picture hung against the wall, the rats had eaten it out of the frame. A man came running from his farm with countenance white with alarm. "Fly, Lord Bishop, fly," quoth he. 10,000 rats are coming this way. The Lord forgive you for yesterday. "I'll fly to my tower in the Rhine," replied he. "The walls are high, the tide is deep, and the shore is steep." Bishop Hatto quickly hastened away. He reached the tower on the island unbarred, all the gates secure and hard. He laid him down and closed his eyes, but a scream soon made him arise. It was the cat. She was screaming mad with fear at the army of rats that were drawing near. They had swum the water so deep, climbed the shore so steep, and now by thousands up they crawl through the windows and holes in the walls. He knelt him down, and faster his beads did he tell, as louder and louder the rats did yell. All at once to the bishop they went. They gnawed the flesh from every limb, for they were sent to do judgment on him. And I learned that poem at 11.
Snaps. Wow. So you remember it. Wow.
Yes, it's about retributive justice.
Amazing. So that was definitely something that you were interested in. Since you remember.
Yes.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for that performance. You all have a live performance from Antoinette. What topics do you like writing about?
Anything that strike me. If it's a political issue, like when the Capitol in America came down, I wrote about that because I was captivated by something that has never happened before. So things that has never happened before that strike me is something that will inspire me. I mean, I could be sitting in my garden and I see a robin or something, and that actually brings a lot of awe and excitement and a feeling of harmony. So again, that will inspire me to write, as well as things that happen in my life. Like recently, I lost a half sister, whom I've been writing to ever since she was 14. I was 14 and she was 12. Then she lived in South Africa, and at that time there was the apartheid government. So and she's somebody called a colored. There were the whites, the colored, and the Africans. So she's a colored. So the area for the coloreds, the South African thought that it's better if white people go there. So they bulldozed the whole place down. This was in the 70s. And during that time, obviously, I lost contact. Letters I sent were never returned. And I was living in Nigeria at the time. And so I returned to England after my husband died. And I continued to write. I contacted the newspaper in Cape Town, South Africa. And I sent advertisements saying who she is and so on. Nobody contacted me. But I still have faith that she was alive. So I started writing that poem. And then on the 4th of April, that's when I started the poem. On the 4th of April, I had this urge to, what can I do? Because I feel she's alive. What can I do to find my sister? So I looked at the South African Facebook pages, and I saw Friends of District 6. So I contacted that site, and I got a very good response. I had people saying, oh yeah, this is what happened. People have lost contact with their families. People have died. So they were all very empathetic. Then one of the people there, one of the organizers said, well, what I could do, I'll put it on all the local platforms, and see what could happen, what would happen. So she put the photograph of my sister on the local, when she was much younger, she was about 18, on these platforms. And then one person who went to school with her and worked with her, she recognized, she said, oh, that's Mona. So she contacted the organizer contacted me, and we were supposed to meet last Sunday at 11 o'clock. So I was so excited, you know, because I haven't seen my sister now except the photo. So this was the first time that we would be able to communicate and interact, you know. And I was so excited. 10 to 11, the phone rang, and it was the organizer. She said, are you sitting down? I said, yes, I'm here waiting right in front of the computer. You know, I'm so excited because I'm thinking right now I'm going to see my sister. She said, oh, I've got sad news. We went to the house, obviously, because they had gone to the house to interview my sister, to ask her, they were playing a trick on her, to ask her what she thinks about moving back to District 6, because the ANC government, which is the new government of South Africa, that new government is actually building properties now in that demolished area, and they're inviting people to return back. So that was the trick. They'll be going to her and to ask her what does she think about going back to District 6 if she's offered a house there. But when they got to the house was all closed up, and the neighbors said she died 11 weeks ago. Well, I tell you, it was like being up there and coming tumbling right down. I went into a state of, in fact, I still got bags underneath my eyes. I went into a state of depression, well, depressive-like mood. And I couldn't even sleep that Sunday night. And then Monday, when I looked in the mirror, I thought, oh my God, I look like a bloody penguin. You know, the black underneath my eyes, because obviously I didn't sleep, I was exhausted. But fortunately for me, I went on a singing weekend on Friday, and I came back on Sunday. And that was like a retreat. So it gave me time to, you know, to commune with myself, and to also to understand, because, you know, we all have to die sometime. Although she was younger than me, we all have to die. So I've accepted that. And now I feel so much better in myself. I've finished my poem, and I'm actually thinking of doing a film, a script about it all, you know. So I'm now looking at studying I've gone on Future Learn, and they're teaching people how to write short story scripts. So going back to your question, how do I fill my time in? Well, I'm at university and I'm doing my dissertation at the moment on colorism. But because I have a diary, I fit things in accordingly. You know, I think if I didn't have a diary, I'd be just scrambling. Probably I'd be sitting at the computer working on the dissertation all day, rather than having a break and doing something more productive. So my diary helps me to organize my time. My diary helps me to be punctual, and my diary also point me in things that I have missed, or that needs doing, or that I could put off for another day. So that's how I manage my time.
Okay. Well, I'm very sorry for your loss, and thank you for sharing with us. That's part of writing. We write from a place of emotion, no matter whether it's happiness, sadness, and that produces a lot of the best writing. So thank you very much, and we look forward to reading that poem in your book.
Thank you.
Can you give any advice to someone wanting to write and publish poetry?
Well, I would recommend, if they're interested in anything, always carry a little notebook and a pencil or a pen or writing material, and write it down. And then when you get home, you can enlarge on it, and then maybe you would think about other things, or maybe it's a continuous thing, so that would even help you better. You can then add it. You know, for instance, when I saw what was happening in the Capitol in Washington, I actually wrote a little bit down, wrote what I'd seen on the television. Then the next day I expanded, and it turned out to be quite well, you know what the poem is all about. It turned out to be quite a nice poem. So basically, always carry a little notebook or paper, a pencil or a pen, so that you can jot down any interesting thing that you see. Then don't think that when you first write it, that's the finish. because you have to repeat, you have to go over, you have to edit, you have to add things in or subtract things as the case may be. So that would be my recommendation.
So thank you very much. We were super excited to have you joining us here tonight. And I am going to allow Antonette to share with us the name of her book and how she came up with that name.
All right. The name of my book is Euanca, Euanca. It might sound nice and it might sound as though it come from Egypt or somewhere like that. No, not at all. Now I have 4 names: Eulinda Antonette Clarke-Akalanne. So EU is for Eulinda, AN for Antoinette, C for Clark, and A for Akalanne. And that is the combination of Euanca.
So we see how creativity comes. You can get a book title, you can get names for characters, and all of these things. Writing is so important, and creativity is a part of it. So she decided to use her name to come up with her book title. So I hope this inspires upcoming authors to be creative. You can get a name from anywhere. And after this video, we are going to show a live performance. Well, it was live at the time, but one of Antonette's performance of one of her poems. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned also for the details of her book release. So thank you for joining us. My name is Theastarr, and ciao.
Your elders may have lots to share, so tap into them now, 'cause when they're gone, they're gone. They can tell you firsthand how things used to be, and may share secrets hidden in their memory. They may give insight in the turns their lives took, which may not be written in a history book. You may discover bloodlines that you never knew existed, or understand the values of relics you overlooked or missed. Elders could share words of wisdom or shine light on things long forgotten. They can tell you of the fruit and berries that they ate that are no longer eaten in this processed food date. Do not discard your elders. They're your living ancestors. Ask them what, when, why, and how. Don't delay. Ask them now. They may tell you things that happened a long time ago, or may disclose traditions that you did not know. Many folks are paying for DNA ancestry. So while you can, take this opportunity to ask about bloodlines from dear old granny. Documents may sometimes lie and lead you astray, like something I heard the other day. The name on the birth certificate was not the mother. Gran disclosed that the boy is the child of the woman he calls godmother. And the one on the certificate was her boyfriend's sister. This resolved the confusion in the DNA ancestry, which showed blood relatives that were all a mystery. Do not leave it long to talk to your gran, because when she's or he's gone, they are gone. Youth of today are the elders of tomorrow. So enrich yourself today for your tomorrow.
Euanca officially debuts August 30th, 2021.